Luce's palisman is a snake shifter, which is able to shapeshift into whatever animal it wants. Whatever it wants, really. Just so freaking good. How is everyone doing? Hey guys, my name's D-Codes, and we are back with the penultimate episode of the entire series of the Owl House. This is episode 2 of season 3, or part 2 of season 3, or episode 42 of the series For the Future. And man, yeah, there's a lot riding on the future here in this episode because jeez. But yeah, let's get this one out of the way with this Luce's palisman. Just yeah. Snake shifter. I guess again, no, it makes so much sense because, you know, that was the thing with the fan base, you know, like all of us having the theories of like, oh, what's her palisman gonna be? Is it gonna be a snake? Is it gonna be an otter? Is it gonna be a bat? Is it gonna be like what's it gonna be? And it's all of them, technically speaking. I mean, right now its main form is a snake. You know, it's a snake, but it can shapeshift into whatever it wants. So, for those who want it to be an otter, it can shapeshift into an otter. If it wants to be a bat, it can shapeshift into a bat. It shapeshifted into a scorpion and a griffin. I also think. I'm just like, what is it gonna be? Like, and also at first I thought it was just like choosing its form, like it was like, you know, because it hatched and it's like, oh, maybe it wants to be this, maybe it wants to be that, maybe it wants to be that, and it just stops. But no, that's what it does. That's what Luce says it does, and her name is Stringbean, which is that's a pretty adorable name. So, and it's great, and I love it, and I really enjoyed just how Luce was able to unlock it. But before we get to that, let's talk about the rest of this episode, because pretty much what had the palisman hatching is like the climax of the episode. But yeah, let's start all the way at the beginning of this episode, that being with King's perspective of what happened at the end of Hexside, or I really should say the Boiling Isles perspective of what happened at the end of Hexside. And boy, it is insanity. Because, oh my god, it's funny, for this episode, especially, you know, for the Owl House, I really like to take down notes when I'm watching these episodes. And usually when it comes to some episodes, you know, I can have, like, maybe over a page, maybe, like, 2 pages. Heck, I think for the last episode, I had, like, 3 pages or something. This episode, there was just so much happening. I couldn't write. I wanted to just watch the episode. So I literally just have a single page of notes here. And it's just half of them I'm literally just like scribbling all around. I'm like, wait, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. I'm like, oh wait, I forgot about that. I'm just like, I'm trying to watch and I'm like trying to keep track of stuff, and it's, oh my goodness. But I think what really is insane about this episode is it's so much happens. And again, I guess when you kind of compare it to Amphibia, you're like, you can see what could be placed here if there was a whole season to cover it. But because there isn't a full season, we're only allowed to kind of like imagine, oh, what the heck happened? Like, what could have gone wrong? What could have been like episodes during this time? Or was it going to be something like Amphibia, where we have like maybe 1 or 2 episodes in the Boiling Isles, but the majority of it would have been with the group on Earth, and then once they get back, that's when episodes on the Boiling Isles take place. But yeah, no, the opening is insanity because, you know, you got obviously King and the Collector having a bunch of fun, but the Collector is having a little too much fun, as he's just you know, he's just celebrating that he's finally free, but unfortunately his celebration is causing people to panic. They're running for their lives. It'll be like they're being bombarded by his colorful shooting stars. But then, unfortunately for King, Lilith and Hootie come in. You know, they're like, what the heck is going on? And this is where we get the most terrifying thing in the episode, in my opinion, and that being the Collector turns people into toys or puppets. And I don't know why, but I just, man, that is terrifying for me, because I mean, I don't know, in Gravity, I remember when Weird Mageddon in Gravity Falls happened, and like Bill Cipher had his eye bats who could turn people into stone, and then he stacked all the frozen bodies into a throne. Yet this feels a lot more terrifying, and I think the main reason for that is how they're used in this episode and how they look. Like, really, it's just they get turned into toys, and it's just they look lifeless. Like, they just look like lifeless bodies when you know that they're freaking, you know, they're actual people. Like, Lilith gets turned into a puppet, Hootie gets turned into a puppet, the head witches of the covens get turned into a puppet, which means Reagan gets turned into a puppet. It's just so many people get turned into puppets, and you just seeing them just still and look completely lifeless, only until the Collector maybe controls them to play his game, which for King is honestly a pretty ingenious idea with the games. I mean, the only thing is people are lifeless puppets, so he kind of has to play along until something works. You know, like he has to figure out a plan to stop the Collector. But his game is pretty much just talking about what he and Luce did, like what the adventures that they went on. And so for the Collector, you know, that is kind of fun, you know, like, you know, one of the games is playing Capture the Owl Beast. You know, the owl, you know, unfortunately for Ida, the Owl Beast kind of does pop up, but eventually, you know, it goes away because, King is able to convince Lilith, or Collector, I think, to let Lilith go or something. Like, I don't know. A part of me was kind of like trying to figure it out. Again, I'm like trying to write a bunch of stuff down and I missed a few things. So at first it seems like Lilith and Ida are captured, but then as we find out later on in the episode, Lilith and Ida are fine, barely. Like, they're hiding out in the owl house that the Collector formed, which he later calls the Archive House, which this is a really cool design. It's basically, it just looks like a crown floating above the head of the Titan, which is ridiculously creative, despite the fact that this is basically yet another castle in the sky kind of situation, which we've had numerous times in the owl house, in Disney shows. I mean, you had freaking Bill Cipher's Pyramid in Weird Mageddon. You had Andreas's Floating City in Amphibian. Now we got the Archive House. So go figure. But, you know, the whole thing there is just, you know, the Collector and King, they're just having fun. You know, they just go back there. That's where all the puppets are being stored. That's where Dahlia, or Mama Dahlia, is. A part of me feels like she deserves the punishment. Just, you know, she's there, she's the servant of the Collector, and, you know, she feels like she's trying to manipulate the Collector, you know, like saying, like, oh, you really want to play these games? Why not reshape the Isles in any way you choose? Maybe make it better, you know, all of that. But the Collector's not having any of it, you know, because he's a kid. He just wants to have fun. He has all this power. He just wants to play games with King. That's all he wants to do. And even like this book that he has, like the book of the Collectors, and like what their real purpose is supposed to be. You know, it's like we watch and observe, but we must amass. We we store him away, you know, lock him, you know, like basically they kind of just control, you know, they observe and they might interfere, they might, you know, it's like the Watcher from What If, you know, they're just watching, but if they have to intervene, they will. But for this specific collector, he doesn't want to do the last part, which is basically purging. Like King's reading this book and then he sees this part that's scribbled out and the collector's like, no, don't read that part, read the part that I put in. And basically the collector just wants to have fun instead, you know, he doesn't want the responsibility of like purging, he just wants to have fun, which is a little odd because the way he talks about people in this episode, you know, he's like making jokes. He's like, oh, we could play capture the flag and like put the losers on the moon. And then King's like, yeah, but it'd be pretty hard for them to breathe. And then Collector's like, well, then they can just hold their breath. And like, he even then asks like, well, what do the mortals eat? Do they eat rocks? Do they eat like, or what was it? It was like rocks, gravity, or just like, what the freaking heck? But the real thing about the Collector is, and, you know, kind of was a thing we noticed in, you know, in season 2 is just, yeah, he's this all-powerful being, but he's just a kid. And, like, King knows that. He knew, like, that's something he talks about with Lilith and Ida, you know, Ida and Lilith are talking about, oh, we can try and trap it again, you know, put it back where it was. And King's like, no, we can't. I mean, because, well, that didn't work before, so it's not going to work again. And two, you know, this Collector, in a way, he kind of reflects King, because King in season 1, he's like, I'm the king of demons, all shall bow before me. And then he discovers that he's a titan, and all of a sudden that just the weight of the world comes down upon him, because literally the very thing that these people worship is what he is. I mean, and now he's this all-powerful being, but he's also just a kid, and that's exactly what he sees in the Collector, who at some points in this episode does act like a kid. You know, maybe he can be, you know, he kind of acts, you know, he's maybe a little bit of a brat, he's a little fun, but he's also a little shy and scared. Like when he's sitting there in this bed space, really their bedroom is just, they're 2 beds on top of a planet. Again, what the freaking heck? But he's so, you know, he's there with King, and he's talking, again, he talks about the book, and, you know, like, don't read that part, talk about the part I wrote in, or when he's going to sleep, and he's asking if he can sleep with Francois, the little toy bunny that King has, and he's just like, but King's like, no, I only have one other person to hold him, and, you know, of course, Collector's like, oh, you mean you're human? And then he's like, but at least can you have him watch over me? I don't want to be alone. And you feel that. You feel when he says that, because you know what he's been through. You know he's been trapped away for who knows how long in that prison. So for him to finally be free and actually have someone, like actually have a friend after all those years being locked away, like you just feel that moment by him saying he doesn't want to be alone. And King knows that, because, you know, he's like, he doesn't want to do anything bad per se to the Collector. He just wants to be able to stop this game of his and possibly take things back to the way they were. But unfortunately for him, it's not that very easy, especially when some people come through the portal. And I'm not talking about Loose and company, I'm talking about Belos, who comes through the portal, and he basically, that was the thing. I remember him going through the portal in the last episode. I'm like, what is he possibly thinking here? That could, you know, like, at the end of season 2, he was literally scared to death that the Collector was out of his prison. So I was like thinking, what are you gonna do now that the Collector is out? Or you think, like, does he have like a contingency plan? And he kinda does. Like, his main plan is just to infiltrate the Collector's house, take possession of the puppets. Of course, he takes possession of Rain, and God, just hearing Rain's voice through this episode with Belos' lines is just so freaking terrifying and so tragic. Like, man, but no, Belos basically does that. He basically becomes like this this person, the devil on the collector's shoulder, just talking about, oh, no, 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 you shouldn't trust King, he's brought, his human friend is coming back, and he's gonna team up to take you down. And of course, for the collector, at first he doesn't believe Belos, but then unfortunately the collector sees King talking about stopping him once and for all, and I'm like, I don't know, part of me just didn't like that scene, because it's just like, oh, we're doing this, the misunderstanding thing, but at the same time, this is a part 2 of a 3-part season. You gotta cut them some slack, and that's exactly what I kind of did afterwards. I'm like thinking, well, I mean, they gotta speed things up in terms of the collector not trusting King here. So of course they gotta do something that could make the collector, not to mention the collector is a kid, so of course he's gonna take something the wrong way like that if he's manipulated in the right direction. And unfortunately for us and him, that's exactly what Belos does. And oh man. But of course at the same time, Belos doesn't exactly get the easy route in this episode, because once he gets back to the demon realm, he's just decaying rapidly, pretty much, like his just gooey body is just losing, it's just losing all this power, it's losing its, like, gooiness, it's even losing bones, and then worst of all, he's starting to see visions of he's starting to see visions of Caleb, who's just kind of in the way mocking him, you just see he's just standing, like, it's just this like ghostly figure with the knife hanging over him, a knife dripping blood over him, and he's just staring right at Belos' face, and Belos is just like, he's just in complete denial. He's just like, oh, don't give me that look. He's like, I was trying to save you, it was your fault. It's just like, Jesus. Like, he just refuses to accept the fact that it was in any way him that was wrong. It's like, he's like, no, it was you. You're the one who betrayed me. You're the one who fell to the further springs. You're the one who let witches influence your mind and all that. It's like, was it? Or was it just the fact that maybe you were jealous that your brother, in a way, was moving on or changing his direction, not conforming to the norm, and you couldn't live with that, you couldn't live without that, and you were willing to go to great lengths to stake that. Man. But even then, like, he walks past that, he goes into a secret chamber, and the other Grimwalkers that he took out are there, and it's like, they're just all just staring at him, and he's just like, oh, shut up. And I'm like thinking, let them talk to you, idiot. And then, it's just all these things, all this stuff happening. And, oh man, it's crazy. And that's not even the beef of this episode. I mean, like, I'm talking about King and the Collector and Belos and everything, and mentioned Luce's palisman, String Bean God. I literally wrote down String Bean here in my notes, yet I continuously have to remember it's String Bean. That's her new palisman's name. I'm probably gonna spend like a few days just being like, okay, what was her palisman's name again? Was it Sling Bean? Was it Sling String, or was it Snakeole or something? No, I'm gonna be like, it's String Bean. But let's see. That's sorry. Stuff going on outside. But, okay, so, like I said, let's get to the actual group here, and that Luce and company getting back to the Boiling Isles, and at first, it seems like, oh, everything is nice and dandy. Oh, wait, forgot to mention, before Luce comes through to the Boiling Isles, she's in the in-between right now, for a few minutes, and she sees something. I couldn't really tell what it was, but it looked like it was someone on the other side of the human realm side, just like looking and just kind of like waving their arms, but then Luce gets pulled through before we can really see more. And so she regroups with the rest of the gang. Hunter is very, very eager to find Belos. Like, he's so, like, I remember, like, Luce is like, any sign of him? And Hunter's like, don't, and Hunter's like, just because, and Hunter's like, you're not gonna say, not saying his name isn't gonna summon a bunch of ghosts. I think. But, again, like, most of this episode, Hunter is just, like, he wants to stop Belos because he the loss of Flapjack gets to him. Like, literally, there's a scene where Willow is comforting Gus is comforting Willow, and then Hunter at first, he's standing off to the side and he's smiling, but all of a sudden he hears the familiar sound of a cardinal, but it's not a cardinal, it's this weird cardinal monster demon thing, and immediately snaps Hunter back into no, we gotta focus, we gotta find Belos, we gotta finish this, basically. But for him, he's not the only one who's kind of going through this, like, gotta do this, gotta do this, gotta do this. Willow also has that, and it feels a little weird-ish for me. And I put that in the best way, because, Willow throughout this episode is trying to remain, like, the main, like, okay, you gotta help, you gotta be strong, gotta help everyone, I gotta keep everything in, he's like, she's basically building up all this stress, and then eventually it does just get the better of her. But luckily for her and the group, Hunter and company are able to help her, especially because the fact that Willow sees that her dads are turned into puppets, and it's just, man, it's just I don't know, I guess for me, it's just, you see Hunter, what Hunter is going through in the current moment of time, so you can understand why he's a little bit eager. Willow, on the other hand, you don't really know. You don't really know. You feel like, like, you can understand Willow kind of being, like, the main focal point, but there's not any indications in the last episode that kind of, like, lead into it. At least for Hunter, it was led into. For Luce, it's been led into that she just wants to do the right thing, but every time something goes wrong, she blames herself. She's hard on herself. She just can't seem to find a way to accept the facts that mistakes are going to happen, and she needs to learn from them. She feels like every single mistake she made is on her, and it's just another reason why she can't be here. She needs to leave. And unfortunately, it's getting to her for most of this episode, but luckily for her, she has her mom, who at first not entirely a fan of the Boiling Isles. Like, she tried. It's funny how Camila tries so hard to say she likes it, and there are some moments where she legit is enjoying it, but then something comes in to kind of ruin it. Like, she sees the head of the Titan and she freaks out. She sees these creatures on the ground and she freaks out. She sees the school in complete chaos and she freaks out. She sees the owl house in, like, in complete ruins and covered in graffiti and emptied out, and there's only like a dead rat. It's just like, what the freaking heck. But eventually, by the end of the episode, you have her and Luce coming to terms, and Luce finally being able to realize what it is she wants from her palette, wants from herself. And that's kind of the thing that is pointed out about the palisman, like back when Batqueen said, like, it's something that it's your deepest wish, pretty much. Like, what is it that you want truly, that kind of like find your inner self kind of thing. And Amity even points it out here, just being like, you got to be able to realize what it is you really want. And for Amity, it was more of just like, she didn't really know, but she just wanted to she just really wanted to be her choice. And for Luce, in this case, it's just being able to have someone understand her. And that's something that you kind of see from that first episode. Like, you see that Luce is kind of this outcast, and the very thing she wants is just, she wants this world that she understands to kind of be there. And that's kind of what the Boiling Isles is at first for her. She's, she feels like she found this fantasy world that she's always looked for, and there's people there that are like her, but she never really had someone that understood her, like why she is this way, why she wants to be this way, why she likes this stuff, why this is kind of the way her personality is. No one understood her for that. That is until her mom admits that she was kind of like that too. And it's fun. It's part of me felt a little weird by that, because Luce, Camila, she talks about how she's very, she talks about basically the whole I completely forgot the name of it, but the sci-fi novel, sci-fi book series that Hunter and Gus found in the last episode. Camila basically goes all nerd on Luce, and Luce is like, wait, are you a nerd? And it's just like, I'm like, I feel like you would at least known that, or at the very, or I mean, but I mean, it's so interesting to see all this from Luce's perspective, of course. Like, she grew up with her sick dad, and then her mom, her dad gave her the Good Witch of Zora book, so for all we know, she thought her dad was the one who was the nerd, who was the one who liked all this geeky stuff, and her mom was just this lady who loved her and her dad for just, but didn't really get into that stuff. Maybe that's what it is. And then, so once she lost her dad, she kind of felt like she was all alone with that. Even Camila admits that, she's like, you don't think I made mistakes? I thought moving to Gravesfield was a great idea because we had the hospital there. I thought doing all this, then of course she's like, but the worst thing is I didn't stand up for you when you needed me. And it's like, man, you just really see the steps, you really see the growth of these characters with lines like that. And it's just, eventually that allows Luce to finally unlock her palisman, being like, she's like, that's all, I realized that's all I ever wanted. I just wanted someone to understand me. And of course, that's what her palisman eventually is able to hatch from, just being able to understand Luce. And now she has a palisman she can use cool magic, like when she has to battle. Okay, let's get to how they get to battle this. So, like I said, we get to see King and Collector, playing a bunch of games, which Luce and the group observes. They observe the Collector playing this game with freaking Terra Snapdragon, which is hilarious. Who's playing Ida, which is hilarious too. But they just see it, but they're not able to stop it. And they're like, well, how do we get there? We gotta get there and free him. And then Bartholomew, Skara, and Barkis show up to basically take him back to their base of operations, which is at Hexside. And as we find out, we got, obviously, when everything went to heck, we had the Collector's kind of minions, which are basically like blue shooting stars, which act like, pretty much like the Ibats in Gravity Falls. They just find you, they fling like a crescent moon at your head. If it gets stuck to your head, you're turned into a toy. And so the Kings are hanging out at Hexside as their base operations because, unfortunately for them, all the teachers were caught, and so they're just trying to do their best to survive. And unfortunately for them, their leaders are Basha, Kikimora, and Kikimora's mech. Oh, excuse me, not Kiki, Mickey. At first I'm thinking, oh yeah, it makes sense. Mickey sounds very similar, but then at the same time, I'm like, oh my god, that is so freaking genius. I mean, just like, because the thing is, Kikimora kind of also acts like she's kind of acting like the manipulator here, and you're talking about what's right, what's the right plan moving forward, what's the right way to kind of lead this new Hexside society forward in the dark future. And so for it to be Mickey, it's so like, oh my god, that is so ridiculous, dumb, and just a great joke, just a great meta joke. Just taking a shot at them. And yeah, no, it's just, man, a part of me really wishes that Kikimora, because I mean, at the end of the last season, you had Kikimora kind of being the enemy of my enemy is my friend. She teamed up with King to show him show him to the Collector. But in here, she's just basically like, nah, I want to rule the next I want to rule. And she kind of goes mad with it, and you don't see, and she doesn't have like that thing over her mouth anymore, so you can actually see her mouth moving, and you're just like, what the freaking heck? And then once it's revealed that it's Kiki, even Lucy's like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? And let's see what else about that. Oh yeah, Ed is in a body cast. I'll say this. So they go to get to the school, they see how everything's doing. Emra and Edric show up, and Emra, she's fine, but then Ed comes in, he's literally in a full body cast, he's moving like this, his head is the only thing not broken, and it's just like, at first, I thought it was Ed got turned into a toy, but somehow his head was the only thing that wasn't, like, turned into a toy, like, that was what I thought it was at first. But no, he fell into a well and broke all of his bones. I don't know what the freaking heck. But, yeah, no, so once Kiki more reveals herself, she throws the group into the detention pit, which again is Camila just being like, the detention pit? But, they're able to escape for the most part, because again, Willow's stress gets the better of her, and this is where she kind of her plant magic lashes out, just causes, like, just everything to go completely fine. And luckily for her, she has Gus and Hunter there to help her out, especially Hunter, who not only says to Willow that she is very important to him, because, yeah, in a way, Willow was really one of the very first people to be there for him and kind of accept it, not to mention kind of be a love interest to him. But he's able to get to her and let out the stress that she has. The main one, but of course the big one being that her dads are toys, so she just feels that pain. She literally just says, I miss them. And of course for Hunter, to be there for her, who also, we almost forgot to mention, he has magic, because, it was a kind of a thing that at the end of the last episode, because Flapjack sacrificed himself to save Hunter, so he put some of himself into Hunter. Is Hunter able to use magic? And that's exactly what happens. He's able to use magic. He's able to phase shift everywhere, which is so freaking cool. But yeah, and then it's great to see that. It's great to see Hunter gain some powers. It's great to see that he's helping Willow, and let's see, yeah, so they're able to escape. Let's see, like I said, Camila and Luce have their talk. Luce gets her palisman, is able to help the group get to Belos. Oh, because they get to the head of the Titan, because in Elsewhere and Elsewhen, Luce remembers seeing Phil drawing the glyph combo that sent them to the head of the Titan. So Luce basically uses that. They have to go to Hexside, use the tweezers that pull out memories to find the one of the glyph combo, and that's exactly what they do, and that's exactly how they get to the head of the Titan. And then let's see, Amity and Basha have a moment, because she's the leader of this group, and she kind of has lost a few of her friends. She feels like Amity, in a way, kind of betrayed her. But of course, Amity's like, what are you kidding me? It's like, you have to be able to stand up for yourself. You can't let Kiki push you around. You gotta take charge. Do the right thing, It's like, I'm not the one, it's like, I left you because you guys weren't willing to change and all that. You were just bullying people and all that. And so, eventually, it does get the Basha who've done this lead the group, including Bartholomew, whose last name is Tholomew. He's like, that was interesting, just being like, wait a minute, your last name is Tholomew? So you're Matt Tholomew? Again, didn't think we needed that, but, we got that. Okay, so besides that, so Basha, again, like, Amity kind of gets the Basha, Bartholomew, and the rest of the students turn against Kiki, fight her off so that Luce and the group can escape, get to the head of the Titan. As I said, Luce gets her palisman. But unfortunately for them, everything seems to be looking up until we see Belos and Collector looking down upon them, and basically Belos is like, you see? They're here to stop you. What will you do? And the Collector is just like, I think I want to play a new game. And it's like, oh man. Oh man. It's so crazy. It's so crazy how we're at this is the penultimate episode, and like who knows how many, I'm guessing May is when we're gonna get the finale, which seems fitting. Amphibia's finale was in May, so oh man, this is insanity. It's crazy. But again, no, this was a great episode. I really enjoyed. Again, because this is a 3-parter, basically, you gotta put a lot in, you gotta be able to cover a lot of ground, you gotta take some liberties, and it's unfortunate that you have to take liberties, but a part of me didn't mind. Sorry, I thought I heard something. Part of me didn't mind that. It's just, oh man. Oh man. Oh, completely forgot. Completely forgot. I want to talk about a slight, okay, sorry, I'm talking so much about characters and stuff, I completely forgot to mention a few things, like, Ida and Lilith's hairdos got changed up. Lilith's kind of baldish now, but she has her red hair growing out, or her red hair showing again. Ida chopped her hair up a little bit too, and it looks a little like her younger self when she had the kind of many different spikes coming out of her head. Let's see, I mean, oh yeah, Bartholomew kind of is trying to grow a beard, you know, in a way. Basha just looks like this, obviously, rebel leader kind of thing. And yeah, pretty much. Yeah, oh yeah, and King's got his own outfit now too. You know, he's got basically a collector outfit on, which again kind of makes sense. If he's the best friend of the collector, he's got to have his own outfit. Is that everything? Okay, that's everything I wrote down. But again, no, great episode. Really enjoyed it. I am very intrigued to see this and Thanks to Them back to back. Like, you watch Thanks to Them first, and then you go to this, and then, you know, it's like, how does that gonna work? Is it gonna flow really well? Or do you really need to, like, see part 1, take a break, see part 2, take a break, and then see whatever part 3 is gonna be? Oh boy, whatever part 3 is gonna be. I'm worried. Because I didn't think Belos was going to play a big part in this season. I thought he was taken out, and maybe he was going to have his end come in the last episode, and then we would just focus on Collector. But no, he's still alive. He's still playing games. He's trying to win here, and it's just like, oh man, what is he going to do? I'm worried. But we'll see. So, thank you all for enjoying that. I hope you guys liked it. If you did, leave a like. If you want to leave a comment, leave a comment. And if you want to subscribe. You don't have to. I'm just saying. Thank you all for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Take care.